Welcome back. I am so excited that you have joined me again in the Aligned Womb, Aligned You podcast. I'm Kate Nagai, and I am your host and womb guide on this journey. I'm here to help you to lean into the language of your menstrual cycle so that you can align yourself and awaken and activate to your womb wisdom to live the most inspired life. I am so excited to jump into this episode and to dive into today's topic. So let's get started. Welcome back. I am so excited to jump into this week's conversation. I have been getting an outpour of questions, both by my community members that are in the sisterhood and by emails for people who are emailing the Aligned Womb podcast email. And the question has been, what are my feelings or thoughts around menstrual products, and what is it that I do? And this is such a great question. And I think this is an important one for us to start to address, mainly because of the environment and what's happening out in the environment, the cost of products, and if we are raising the next generation of empowered period girls, I really want them to know their options and not necessarily to buy into old ways. At least this is how I feel. So once again, just an FYI, this is a complete rundown on what I feel and what I have done for myself. And hopefully it inspires some bigger change for all the women that are listening. So period products. Most of us probably grew up knowing about tampons and reusable pads. I am not a fan of either of them. I'm not a fan of tampons because tampons, they are so full of chemical and just not natural products. And we're sticking it right up into the vagina, into the canal there. And those toxic chemicals are leaching into our body. Like we are literally inserting it right in to soft tissue. And so I'm not a fan of them. I have always felt really gross about them. I know that they have changed after some consumer reports and some awareness came around of what was in tampons. But even to this day, if I have to use one, my body instantly begins to cramp. It does not like them. And to me, that's a big indicator of my body saying, please don't do this. Please don't do this to me. So I would say the worst product that you could probably use, in my personal opinion, is a tampon. Now, pads, reusable pads. The thing with reusable pads, once again, they're expensive, but they're also really harmful for the environment. And I think there's this idea that when we bleed, we need to dispose of it and never see it or never acknowledge it. Like there is such a fear around seeing or witnessing our bleed. Which I think is holding us back in some ways. I think when we get curious about our periods and we get curious about the bleed, we open ourselves up to finding a lot more freedom in being a cyclical woman. So for one, when we bleed, if we get curious and we look in the toilet and see if there's clots or notice the color of it or notice the quantity, these are great details to be able to provide our healthcare practitioners, whether they are MDs, NDs, acupuncturists, yoga therapists like myself. That information is really crucial for us to help us understand what's happening in your menstrual cycle. And so I think with the pad itself, the disposable pad, is that we bleed on it and we throw it away. We don't remain curious about it. Like there's a shame that kind of goes with it, I think. Even if we're not fully aware of the shame, I think there is this idea that it's gross, it's dirty, it's disgusting, we have to get rid of it, which is probably one reason why so many women shy away from reusable products versus the disposable, is because, once again, it's seen as something that is dirty and that we don't want to interact with it, whether that be touch it or look at it. We just want to it happened, it's gone from our sight. So disposable products, I'm just not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of them because they're not made with love and care, in my personal opinion. They are bad for the environment. They often contain chemicals or products that are just not healthy. And we have better options. We just have to get over some of the mental headspace around some of the other products. So products that I am a fan of are reusable products. And let me tell you, reusable products have saved me thousands of dollars. You heard me right, thousands of dollars. I personally use reusable pads. I have a set of pads that I have used for 10 years. 10 years. And they are still in great condition, strong as ever. Like they're made out of bamboo. They were organic, which was nice. They didn't give me any kind of rashes or anything like that. They've been just a beautiful product. And it was just recently, last month, that I was actually gifted a set of pads from Isle. It's a brand. It used to be called Luna Pads. They've now rebranded into Isle. And as much as I love my bamboo ones that have lasted me forever and I feel very loyal to, these ones it was just amazing to have this new product, and they were beautiful. I'll definitely be buying more pads from them and potentially replacing the ones that are 10 years old. So back 10 years ago when I bought these pads, it was just before I got pregnant with my first daughter. And up until then, I've been playing around with using the Diva Cup, which I liked. And I think that was, it was still this idea of, I don't know, maybe not, I don't want to say necessarily disassociating from my period, but to me, it wasn't, I don't know, it felt safer than a reusable pad for some reason. I have no idea why. It was my stepping stone into reusable pads. And the Diva Cup served me well. And I feel like for women who want to either free bleed, well, this idea of maybe not full on free bleed, but this idea of being able to capture their blood, which is a thing. People do it. They make ceremonies out of it, of releasing it back into the earth. If you water it down, it's really nourishing for plants. So there's this whole thing about capturing the blood in the Diva Cup and being able to use it and make it as part of our ceremony of regrounding with Mother Nature as well. So if that's your thing, great. It's also great if you are somebody who is going swimming or you're in a situation where you can't wear a pad. It's a great opportunity to use one of those. Diva Cups, or any kind of reusable cups, the silicone ones, I'm totally down for. I never cramped with them like I cramped with tampons. That was the other big thing. So I'm a big fan of them. I personally just, ever since I've had kids, never used them. I don't know why. My mentality has shifted. I used to wear a thong and now I wear full-fledged underwear because I just want all the support. I think after I had kids, it was just like all those ideas that I had about beauty and about how I had to be witnessed by other people kind of shifted. And now I'm just like, nope, comfort comes first every time for me. So a little, maybe too much information side note for you. But so yeah, I swapped from the Diva Cup into the reusable pads, and I've never looked back. I have never used another disposable pad ever. I know for some, the reusable pad seems kind of gross or awkward because you have to wash it. And that, to some people, doesn't feel great. Now, I know when I got my first set of reusable pads, it was a pack of 3, and I want to say it cost me $40. But they've lasted 10 years. 10 years. And I've never bought... well, I shouldn't say I've never bought more. I've bought another set off of Amazon that were a fleece, and I absolutely hated them. Fleece seemed to give me a little bit, it held the moisture there a bit more, and I seemed to get a little bit more irritation down in my vulva area, where instead with the bamboo and with these ones that I got from Isle, I noticed that there was no irritation. Once again, super absorbent. It just felt like underwear. I didn't feel the moisture of the bleed. They're beautiful. I would highly recommend, if you're going to go reusable pads, try the Isle products or try a bamboo product. I have friends who use the NYX pads too. They love them. I personally haven't tried them, so I can't say, but I do love the NYX website and what they are doing for period positivity. So it's another brand that I would highly recommend. But with period pads, the reusable ones, I know that sometimes they say that you have to, after you bleed, you rinse them in cold water and wring them out before you wash them. I'm a mom of 3. I don't have time for that. I just throw it in with the dark clothes. And none of my clothes get stained from blood or anything like that. I just throw them all in with darks, and that's all I do. I don't rinse and do any extra work. So I would not say that you have to do those things. Now, if you're somebody who loved the idea of using the Diva cup or a silicone cup to capture the blood so that you can put it back out into the earth, you can do the same thing with reusable pads if they're more comfortable. All you have to do is soak them and in a little bit of water and then wring them out, and the blood will come out, and that's diluted blood, which is what you can use for your plants or the earth, or if that's your jam, you can definitely do that. Like I said, I just throw mine directly right into the washer machine. Now, brands, and some brands that I like before we get into another area of topic here. Like I said, I think my first set was Bummies. I think it was like the diaper brand, the ones that were bamboo. I have no idea. Like they were so long ago, and I've never been able to find them again. Like I feel like that ship has sailed now. But like I said, with the discovery of Isle, where I'm no longer looking for bamboo. Like these ones were great. They're also made with organic material. When buying any products, make sure that they are promoting that they are natural, or that they're made with organic material, or that they're not infused with chemical. I know that there was a big uproar last year around a company that was being sued that was selling period wear, and I can't remember what company it was now. It was out of the States, but they were putting chemicals in the reusable pads. So once again, defeating the purpose of what we're asking for as women. I know Isle is certified and that they use organic products. I know Nix was kind of brought up as another company that was questionable with this lawsuit, but I also know that it came back with tons of news articles saying like it was bogus, that they were just trying to find another company to throw under the bus because that company was being targeted. So Nix, as far as I know, is safe and tests their material and is all good as well. What I like about these two companies, let's just look at Nix and Isle, because those are the two companies I've been really researching and looking at. I've looked at a few others, but these are the two that kind of really resonated with me. Now, there's other little small shops that you can definitely buy from, but looking at these two bigger brands, Isle used to be Luna Pads, and they've been around for, I think, 3 decades now. So, like, they know what they're doing. They make reusable pads, but they also make period panties, which I think is the most amazing revolution that we could have done for women's health, is creating a panty that is built in for our periods so that we don't have to worry about the leakage, or that we have an extra backup for the leakage if that is something that concerns you. So I really like that. Going towards Nix now, one thing that I love about Nix, and Nix is spelled Knix. I'll put all these links down below in the show notes. But one thing I really like about Nix is that they're really appealing to the younger girls. Like they do have cute little patterns. They do have different shapes and sizes of underwear. They're not just full bum coverage and high waist. Like they do have a really nice selection. And so I think for younger kids, look at me talk. I'm 42 and I'm the old one, I guess. But looking at teens, what I think will appeal to them to using them is that, they kind of go with that fun look, right? And that more modern appeal. Where Isle, they're your solid colors. I don't find them as attractive as underwear, but once again, they're period panties. I'm not really trying to attract a mate with them per se. So I don't know. Both are great, but if you have young teens, that you might want to look at Nix instead for more of that appealing factor to sell them on it. The other thing I really love about Nix, and I think this is amazing, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this showing up with these other companies like Isle as well, is they've made period swimsuits. So they're really starting to stretch how we can show up as cyclical women and not have to remove ourselves from things that we want to do and events that we want to do. Like they're really making it so that a period doesn't hold you back from life. A period is just something that's part of who we are as biology, and they're making it really acceptable. So I really love this idea of period swimsuits too, if that's something that you're concerned about. Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is free bleeding, because that was another question that came up when someone was asking about period products and my thoughts on them. Now, free bleeding is something that I haven't necessarily done or like really attempted to, but the idea behind free bleeding is that we're not using any products to try to capture the blood. We're just letting the blood run. And this is sometimes done for people who, out of necessity, have no money to buy the products or don't have the means to obtain any kind of menstrual products, because menstrual products are expensive. And it's really sad that not everyone has that ability. I know there's a bunch of organizations out there that are really trying to do fundraising so that way no one is left without period wear, that we all have the resources to be able to have menstrual products. Another group of people who are into the free bleeding are those that are doing it for a statement. They're trying to make periods a positive experience and showing that there is no shame or no holding back from leaks or stains. No worries around having blood be something that we need to shy away from. And I think it's pretty cool. I think it was 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. It must have been 2018, that there was actually a marathon runner who decided to free bleed on her run, and it created such conversation, both pro and against. But I think it just goes to show once again how people feel like they should have an opinion on our body, an opinion on how our biology is, right? Like, yes, we all bleed, and everyone was born from a woman who has bled. Like, this is not something that we need to be ashamed of. And the fact that it creates such controversy just goes to the deep roots of, in my personal opinion, how patriarchy has really destroyed how we see women's bodies and their biology. And we got to remember, we need to have a menstrual cycle in order to birth children. And so in order for us to have a population, we need women. And so why we're like attacking and shaming one group of women, it's beyond me. But, free bleeding is for your own. You can do it as like a way to advocate for a cause, to stir up some conversations. Some people do it because of necessity. And then, I have friends who free bleed when they go hiking or when they're at home. For them, it's an experience of just letting and acknowledging their body and what it's doing. And it can be a really beautiful ceremonial practice too. So, I have friends that, garden and free bleed at the same time because it's just their way of being in nature, being connected. So, that's always an option. There's no wrong with it. Some people, especially if we look at it from the healthcare perspective, they would say like, still things are transmitted through blood, period, blood included, like HIV. But I feel like that shouldn't be our cause to be afraid to free bleed. If free bleeding is something that sparks something in you and you want to make that statement or that you want to connect with your body that way, then it's definitely a way to go. I see no shame in it. Me personally, it doesn't really necessarily resonate with me. But, my first 2 days of my bleed, now that I think about it, I use period pads or period underwear. But then on the 3rd day when I'm spotting, I do not. And I also do not try to hide that there are stains on my underwear from my children when we're folding clothes after laundry's been done. Like, for me, it's when I'm light, I don't really worry too much about it. So do what feels best for you. But in my personal opinion, outside of free bleeding, because free bleeding, I feel like that is an area for you to connect with and decide if that is something aligned with your vision and aligned with who you're growing into and aligned with how you want to express. That's up to you. But if we're looking at period products, I really, really want to create this movement and this encouragement to get over the fear of using reusable products, and letting ourselves experience good products for our period that aren't so chemical based and that don't cost a fortune. Yes, buying reusable pads and underwear does have a price tag to it, but when they last you 10 years, that's sense. Like it just makes more sense, and it's way better for the environment. I am an environmentalist through and through. I'm always looking at better choices that we can make for the environment and how we can hold companies accountable. And I think that period products themselves, disposable ones, have so much harm to the environment because more than half of the population bleeds. And so we can make choices that, are better for the environment and really are better for our body, because we're not constantly using those chemicals on our skin or internally. So I'm all about reusable products. They're not that scary. They are way, way more comfortable. Disposable pads back in the day when I did use them, or on the few chances that I've had to use them in the past 10 years, they give me irritation all throughout where they touch, around the vulva, the anus, all that. Like there's an irritation. There's not an itchiness necessarily, but it almost feels like a rash, but a rash doesn't appear. There's just this irritation. And I think it's always because of the crap that's in these products that we're constantly putting on our skin. And so it's a choice, by all means. I'm not here to tell you what you can and cannot do, but it has been life changer, game changer for me to move to reusable products. And it's one that I will continue to encourage my children. I will encourage in my programs because it just feels so much better. It's like, I guess the way to look at it, it's like kind of having a good pair of cotton underwear that are soft and silky and nice wearing all the time versus wearing a paper pair of underwear. Right? Like some kind of disposable napkin that you have to somehow put on and it's supposed to feel comfortable. It doesn't. There's no comparison. Once you make the move, I swear you will feel so much better about it. So, and then I really don't have an indifference between, whether you use a Diva cup or a pad. I might say if I was working one-on-one with you, if you have endometriosis, maybe to use less of the Diva cups and rather using more of the reusable pads. And the only reason behind that, once again, this is not, an evidence-based thought, but it is a theory out there that endometriosis is a higher chance of retrograde bleeding, meaning that the blood is being pushed back up versus being released down. And when we look through like Ayurvedic medicine, or any kind of ancient medicine, whether it be TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, or Ayurveda, is that we really want to stimulate the blood flow downwards. Like we want to have this energy movement to expel. So we want a downward moving energy. And when we put something up, we kind of stop the flow of energy, and we kind of create this experience in the body that it needs to go back up, right? And so if you're someone with endometriosis, that might resonate with you. Once again, it's not scientifically evidence-based. This is just a theory that has been put out there. And I think there's some value in it when I look at more of the alternative or more of the ancient teachings around the bleed, and why we would do free bleeding back then was this idea of really encouraging the downward flow of energy to help to create that elimination. But once again, I've used both, and I really don't have a preference for what I would say would be better. I just really prefer a pad because I'm 42 and I just feel like I don't care if I have panty lines. And so it's kind of my preference. I like the full coverage. I don't mind the feel of the pads, but so yeah, that's kind of my thoughts around period wear and some choices that we can make and why I've made the choices I've made. I will include the Nix and the Isle links down below for you as well, because I do think that these two products are amazing. And like I said, there's other products out there. So if there's somewhere more local for you, or someone that makes them, definitely give them a try. I personally do not like fleece. I did not like the fleece experience that I got. But this organic cotton and tinsel and the bamboo were quite beautiful and quite comfortable and cozy for my vagina. So that's my thoughts. So I hope that helped. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode and that, you're walking away feeling a little bit more informed about choices that you can make. And if you're somebody who wants to save the environment and save your pocketbook, stop using disposable products. They really are not the bee's knees anymore. There are so many better options out there. So reach out in the community if you have any questions on Facebook, or like this conversation started, it started from someone sending an email saying, I am curious about this. So please send an email to me with any other questions or any other things that you want me to cover on this podcast, because this podcast is for you. It's for you so that you can learn how to live more cyclically and aligned with your energy and just feel empowered as a woman and inspired. So the email to email me at is listed also below in the show notes. So feel free to send an email with any topics you'd like me to discuss.
For way too long, as women, we have been guided to hate our menstrual cycle and to curse our hormones. We have lost the art of seeing the inner power of being cyclical. So, if this podcast is inspiring you and waking up a new curiosity of how your cycle can be your superpower, I invite you to check out the She Sisterhood. This is a monthly membership that will align you to your unique rhythm through aligned womb yoga practices, cycle coaching on how to weave your cycle wisdom into everyday life, and to be part of a community of women that are awakening to their inner power. Remember, womb wisdom equals connection to self, which ultimately equals inspired living. And if you love this episode, don't forget to rate and review. I love seeing how this information is transforming your life.